Hey guys, just wanted to introduce you to Lieutenant Dan, our rig we're going to be using for the next couple weeks. So here he is. And there are a couple new things about this rig. This was done by Matt Ornstein, who also did the ball rig we've been using, so good on him. And let me just show you the main controls of this rig. The first one here is the master control, and this controls the overall placement of the character. Everything's attached to that control, and you'll use this for your initial placement of your character in the scene. And it also has a control on it. Just zero those out again. It also has a control here called tail, and the tail controls the visibility of, you guessed it, the tail. And so a value of 0 will set that to invisible, which I'm going to use right now. The tail's a lot of fun to animate, but I think we'll have our hands full at first, but feel free to use the tail later if you want. The next control, it's very similar to the ball, is the outer ring, which is the ball control. And the ball control can be moved up and down, and you'll see that as you pull it out, the feet follow the ball there. And the ball will also be used, or that outer ball control will also be used for rotation, like hip rotation, as you can see here, and back and forth. So we'll be using that control quite a bit. Now the other controls I'm not as concerned about for you to use, because they're basically squash and stretch controls, which are really cool. So you can grab that inner ring, or he's also made this outer ring, or outer arrow, for you to be able to grab instead of the ring. And so that gives you some squash and stretch in the middle, just like that middle ring on the ball. And just to throw this out here, rigs with deformations like this, they tend to look bad if you really put them into a big extreme. As you do this, the more kind of ridiculous the mesh looks, and you tend to lose the reality of the model. So I think it's good to kind of use that a little bit lightly. Rigs tend to look better if you don't kick them out to the very furthest extents of their abilities. And then this is the top squash and stretch here. Now one last thing is that you also have these two little balls out here, and these are new to you. And these are called pole vector constraints, and what these do is they keep the knees oriented towards where these pole vector constraints are. So you've got one for the left knee, which is blue, and that corresponds to the blue foot as well. And then you've got one for the right knee, which is red. And so just to demonstrate what they do, if I move these back, we get ostrich Dan here. And so you always want to keep these out in front, and these can be used also to animate really subtle knee changes, and the knee orients towards those constraints. And then we have the foot controls. And so the foot controls we'll be using obviously quite a bit. And this is an IK setup so that as I move the foot, which is at the end of the chain, the rest of the leg follows it. And the foot is an interesting bit of business, and we'll get into this a bit more in the next videos. But it has these attributes here in the channel box that you can manipulate that have a big effect on the position of the foot. Let me turn off the grid here. Alright, so if I have this left foot selected, I can go up here to roll, and I can select the channel itself, go out here, middle mouse, click and drag, and you can see the effect of roll. And these are all keyable. You'll be setting keys for these attributes. Undo that. Toe bend. Ball twist. Toe twist. And auto stretch lets you do squash and stretch with this rig, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to get into that today. You can experiment with that if you want. But for this first learning how to do walks and runs, I would really stick to basically the main controls, which are the master control, which you'll need to use your initial placement, the ball control, and the feet. And then kind of secondarily you'll be using the pole vector constraints for the knees. And that's really it. I don't think you need to do squash and stretch or anything fancy for learning how to do your walks and runs initially, but that's all great stuff you can add later when you get into this character a little bit more. Alright, in the next video we'll talk about whatever I feel like.